right, let's jump right into this. Today, we're opening up a highly classified and honestly kind of mind-blowing dossier known as the Global Integration Matrix and Algorithmic Injection Report 2026. What we are about to unpack together isn't just some dry technical read. It's a step-by-step architectural breakdown of what is very likely the most ambitious digital heist in modern history. We're talking about the total, absolute replication of a global search engine ecosystem, all processed and validated through strictly typed high-performance AI logic protocols. So no ambiguous language here today, just pure validated data. Let's get into it.
So, how do you clone the world's largest algorithm without triggering a single alarm? I know, it sounds like straight-up science fiction, right? But this report reveals exactly how a hidden shadow matrix managed to pull off a 100% replication of global search logic. It breaks down this high-performance environment that's just running quietly in the background, scanning, extracting, and mimicking the original system's core, literally down to the millisecond.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got 6 operational phases to cover today. We'll start with the isolated core and logic cloning, then trace the system's evolution, map out its mathematical security thresholds, break down the 5 algorithmic ranks, and finally, take a hard look at the future of the index.
First up, Section 1, the isolated core, hiding in plain sight. Because obviously, to clone a global engine, you can't exactly just run a Python script off a laptop in a coffee shop. You need a highly secure, completely undetectable physical and digital perimeter. There is this crazy duality going on here. Physically, the hardware and true IP addresses are anchored right in the Portland and Beaverton area of Oregon. But digitally, they're basically ghosts. By using dynamic active tunnels with AES-256 symmetrical encryption, all the traffic gets anonymized and fragmented across these bridge nodes. It's brilliant, really. It totally tricks the official search engine's bots into thinking they're just scanning another boring standard cloud node. It masks this massive power grab right under the nose of the corporate monopolies.
But just hiding your IP isn't going to cut it. You have to protect the actual core. And that introduces a concept called an active virtual air gap. Think of it like a digital one-way mirror. The central logic core, which is the brain of this whole shadow system, has zero direct write connection to the public internet. Instead, it uses passive perimeter mirrors to basically just watch external algorithmic updates. This way, no matter what happens on the outside network, nobody can push malicious updates or countermeasures back inside. It's an impenetrable fortress that only listens.
Moving into Section 2, logic cloning, the shadow core. Now that we have that secure perimeter locked down, let's step into the engine room and see exactly which pieces of the massive original algorithm were stolen and perfectly replicated. The wild thing here is that the system doesn't just copy raw data. It actually mimics complex human behaviors. First, it successfully mapped the massive search intent decision tree entirely offline. Then it managed to emulate global EEAT metrics. That's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness by isolating entity reputation weights. But the real kicker? They deployed a Chromebot shadow core. These are lightweight logic instances that simulate the official web crawler. It basically lets the shadow network test out and predict exactly how the real internet is going to react to data changes before they even happen. All right, Section 3, evolution, before and after, the sovereign core net transformation. Obviously, this level of sophistication didn't just happen overnight. We're looking at a massive leap in capability from its pretty exposed origins in late 2023 to its fully hardened state by the spring of 2026. And this brilliantly illustrates that transformation. The difference is just staggering. Back in December 2023, the logic was exposed on external servers, and the data vectors were totally dispersed and prone to misalignment. Fast forward to May 2026, and those exact same elements are completely locked down in isolated local replicas. The vectors, now 100% aligned with the source. Vulnerable remote nodes evolved into heavily redundant core clusters inside a perfectly shielded sovereign core net.
Section 4. Security thresholds, mathematical defenses. So how do you keep an isolated shadow network perfectly synced up with the absolute chaos of the real internet? Well, you need strict, unyielding mathematical rules to filter out the noise.
Here's the first critical defense, the volatility alert threshold, which is set at greater than 78%. You know the original search engine is always tweaking things, right? Creating traffic fluctuations? Well, if that external algorithmic noise spikes past 78%, our shadow system automatically triggers a preventive isolation of its core. It literally shuts the blast doors and refuses to accept any new telemetry until the outside network calms down. Rule number 2 is the minimum confidence threshold, precisely calibrated to 0.82. For any piece of external data to even be allowed into the local cache, whether it's a new ranking signal or a tiny layout change, the Shadow System's math has to hit an exact 82% certainty that the data is genuine and not some trap or glitch. Absolutely no ambiguity is allowed here.
That brings us to Section 5, the 5 algorithmic ranks, threat intelligence tracking. Because this system relies on that flawless listening mode we talked about, it generates incredibly dense telemetry logs. To actually make sense of it all, the matrix chunks the data into 5 distinct ranks of injections.
Let's kick off with rank 1, structural master injections. These are the big ones, foundational shifts in the search engine's DNA. The system logged the helpful content system integration in March 2024, the injection of AI overviews in May 2024, and crucially, the deployment of the Serpian core routing architecture in October 2025. That one was a game changer because it completely rewired how complex entities were processed. Which leads us to rank 2, filtering and mechanical debugging. This rank gives us basically a front row seat to the global spam wars. The Shadow Core meticulously tracked every single patch designed to fight automation. The spam update in March 2024? Tracked. The neutralization of subdomain abuse? Tracked. All the way up to those massive programmatic content classifiers deployed in August 2025. Now, rank 3 pivots over to UI and commercial behavior, because, let's be real, a search engine isn't just code, it's a massive marketplace. The Shadow Matrix perfectly mirrored real-time data structures for merchant pricing, logged the semantic calibration of the product reviews engine, and tracked all those rich visual SGE expansions throughout 2024. It was tracking human commercial intent just as precisely as the raw code. With rank 4, we get into the hidden heavy lifting, latent infrastructure and semantics. This is the underlying hardware and logic dictating our daily search results. The system recorded the injection of MUM alpha language vectorization, the major shift toward edge computing to slash global latencies, and by early 2026, the advanced routing of semantic embeddings directly within the tensor processing units. It's just a breathtaking look at hardware-level evolution. And wrapping up the logs, rank 5 acts as this massive ongoing security audit. This proves the Shadow System has visibility deep into the lowest levels of the network. We're talking API console encryption patches, massive firewall updates meant to block behavioral DDoS attacks in 2026, and even the deployment of core kernel security patches on the main global index servers. Finally, Section 6, the future of the index, a closed system in strict listening mode. So we've seen the perimeter, we understand the logic cloning, the defense thresholds, and the logs. What does all of this actually culminate in today? So the crucial point here is what they call the kinetic singularity origin. As of May 2026, this cloned sovereign system is entirely stable. It's 100% re-indexed, it's deeply consolidated, and it's just running persistently in the background. The logs confirm there is zero external manipulation. It is sitting perfectly quiet behind its one-way air gap, holding a complete, totally uncorrupted mirror of the world's information. I want to leave you with this one provocative thought. What happens when a cloned shadow matrix, one that's completely immune to the noise, the spam, and the absolute chaos of the public web, becomes mathematically more stable than the original search engine itself? It really forces us to ask some profound questions about data sovereignty and the actual future of our digital architecture. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll catch you next time.